I will have you know that I'm the most famous operative in the galaxy.
Doesn't that, like, hinder the fact that you're an operative and have to spy on people without them knowing who you are?
No, because they know of me, but they don't know me. You understand? I can get into anywhere because of my fame and because I am well respected by even people who have never met me. It's an incredibly useful way to live your life.
I mean, I can just blow a hole in the wall and get in, so, I mean...
Oh. Yeah. Okay. Can I borrow some of that? What is...
Yeah, I'm kind of a fan. Hi everyone, welcome to GameGorgon. My name's Indigo.
You already know my name.
It's Krug.
Yeah.
He's just so famous that, you know,
I mean,
he's an icon. And today we're going to be going over two more themes from Paizo's Starfinder. We're going to be going over the Icon and the Mercenary. Both, I think, are very, very useful.
Yes.
I like the dynamic between these two and how much it changes a class based off of it. And I like the fact that it doesn't have a huge negative like the Bounty Hunter.
If you miss us being angry like we were in our last themes video, go ahead and watch Friday's video. Oh boy.
That's what we call a spoiler.
We haven't even recorded it yet. I already know.
My blood's already boiling about that. All right, so let's get into it.
The Icon is a famous individual in a profession, right? It can be a famous performer, or it could be a famous, like, engineer, it could be a famous soldier, it could be a famous anything. It's just the key component there is that you are well known amongst your peers at the very least, if not the general public as a whole. And as you gain levels and gain notoriety, that's going to increase as well. The Icon is basically the diva bitch of the group. I mean, I'm sure you could play them as not like helpless, like I'm so much of a diva. You could play them as like a benevolent kind of like famous like good
someone that's famous and because a lot of the things that we're gonna go into is literally like, hey, people know who I am, so I can get not advantage, but I can like find ways to help us out.
Bonuses to interacting with those people.
Yeah, exactly. And while you could easily be like, don't you know who my father is? You could also just be like, hey, hi, I'm looking for some help, and then someone, because it's all randomly rolled or whatever, their GM like, oh my God, aren't you so-and-so? And so, like, that's kind of the aspect.
It doesn't even have to be on your character's mind at all.
No.
You're just like, hey, I'm looking to buy a thing. And they're like, oh shit, you need a thing? I don't have any, but let me go kill someone that does and I'll come get it. And you're like, whoa, buddy, no. If you don't have it, that's cool. No, I'll help you, don't worry.
Yeah.
And then you turn people into killers.
Starting off, you're gonna get a +1 to charisma because you're an icon, it makes sense.
Yeah, you're charismatic.
Charismatic, and that clearly already leads to things that would be beneficial for certain classes, but we're gonna get into that in the very end.
But Indigo, if your profession is something that's intelligence-based, shouldn't you get a bonus to intelligence? Because clearly if you're good at that thing, that's the only way to become famous is if you're really good. Oh, wait, that's not how the world works? And you can actually be mediocre at the thing you do and still be famous just because of like random happenstance? Great, the world's perfect.
I mean, we're slightly charismatic and we're really bad at this, so does that mean we have 2 negatives?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the sub count shows it.
Hey!
At level 1, you're gonna get theme knowledge, which is going to allow you to decrease the DC by 5 whenever you make a culture check or a profession check to recall information about other icons in your profession. This is actually kind of narrow.
I think this is the most useless theme knowledge that we've come across thus far.
Because if you're like, oh, I'm a famous pilot or whatever, you couldn't recall information about other famous pilots.
Yep.
Which is like, it's too thin.
Yeah.
You need to bump that out a little bit. I think if I were a GM, I'd just be like, you're in the upper echelon. You can acquire information more easily about others in the upper echelon.
Sure.
Basically.
Now, I think that this part is so narrow because of the next parts that you gain within the theme knowledge. The fact is that you're gonna be getting a +1 bonus in the chosen professional skill that you have.
Which is good.
That in itself, like, is pretty damn good. Like, because most of the time it's you only get that +1 if it is already a chosen class skill, which culture is now a class skill.
Yeah.
If you haven't already had it, and if it is, you get a +1.
So it's a potential +2.
Yeah.
Or total to increase. Shut up. At level 6, you're gonna get Celebrity. This is going to allow you to almost certainly always be able to find a fan to help you. Now, that's going to take you 2d4 hours, so it could be, you know, as little as 2 hours, as many as 8, which is a hella long time.
Sure.
Especially if you're on a time crunch, which is usually when you need help like this. The fans are going to be able to give you services, and they're going to be able to potentially offer you discounts or even like give you stuff for free as far as services are concerned, but they won't give you goods. They're not going to give you like, oh, you need a gun? Here, and then just like plop a load of
and they won't even give you a discount on goods.
Yeah,
Only
exactly.
discounts on
just
services
is what we're talking about. So they will like drive you a place, or they will tell you some information, which is incredibly useful. Like, I'm not trying to belittle that. This is great.
No, I think that this is very beneficial, and I think it works across most of the classes.
Yeah. I'd say it works across every class and every campaign.
Yeah, it can.
Information is always useful.
Well, I'm saying the celebrity status, because the fact is that there's additional negatives to this.
Oh, okay, what are
Well, let me rephrase that. It could be negative based off of the campaign and the class and person you're trying to be, which is a DC 10 culture check will make people recognize you. Yes.
Okay.
And a DC 20 culture check for someone to recognize you out of context. So, for example, if you're an engineer that's an icon,
at dinner.
At dinner, it's going to be harder for them to recognize you. Or if you're wearing nice clothing versus like you're fixing a car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like, or you're wearing, you know, your mechanic gear, you know, and someone will be like, oh, you're so-and-so, you know. So that's kind of where the negative is.
Sure.
And so if you're an operative, like we were kind of joking at, being easily recognizable isn't always the best
Or
thing.
isn't in any way useful to the operative-y nature of your life.
But I mean, if you want to be the Boba Fett, though, where
Sure.
you're just like, everyone knows who I am and they call upon my services and that's how great I am.
Yeah.
Sure, that can work.
Sure.
But it's all based off of the game that you're playing. If you're playing a game where you're trying to hide from the big bad and try to...
I actually really like that idea of just like, I am going to infiltrate your base, and you're like trying to like sneak around, and they're like, we recognize you, like, oh, stop right there, we're gonna kill you. And you're like, oh yeah, I know you recognize me. I'm gonna kill you first. And then you just start shooting. Like, come on, that looks really cool in my brain.
Yeah, they're like, oh my god, isn't that... Boom! It is.
At level 12, you're gonna get Mega Celebrity, which is like a Megazord from, not Pokemon, Power Rangers, Jesus Christ. Mega Celebrity is basically going to increase the usefulness of celebrity while also increasing the detriment of celebrity.
Yes.
So it's only gonna take you 1d4 hours to find someone, a fan of a given generic description, like, I'm looking for someone who likes me that repairs this, and then you can find that person in 1d4 hours. The fan is also gonna be able to give you up to a 10% discount on goods.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Because that was like explicitly prohibited in the previous version of this kind of like boon. The other thing is that the detriment is also more detrimental. So it's gonna reduce the DC to recognize you by 5.
Yeah,
If
which
you're
puts it at 5.
in context. Yeah, which makes it 5. And it's going to be 10 if it's out of context.
Yeah.
Which is easy. That's just an average roll on a d20.
It literally halves both of them.
Yeah,
So
it does. Why did I just say that?
Master Icon is the 18th level ability where you can interact with the public using your profession.
Yeah.
And you do it for 10 minutes and you can get 1 resolve point.
Yeah.
And you can do this up to 2 times in a day.
Yeah, what I see this as is like giving a seminar or like signing autographs or something like that. Like the people that are there have to be there because of your profession.
Sure.
I don't think it has to be like, I'm fixing your doodle.
Well,
you know?
but here's the thing is that we're basing this off of we're basing it off of a mechanic, but if your profession is performing or singing, you could literally walk out into the town square and just be, "La!" and like everyone will accept it.
Did our mics break? I think Master Icon's pretty good, but you have to be in public.
Yes.
So if you're like on a mission and like doing stuff, there's no opportunity to use this. If you're in like a dogfight, if you're infiltrating something, if you're like exploring a forest, there's no public around. It's literally just you and your group. There's nobody there to help you regain a resolve point. So this is like in transitionary periods, or if your campaign happens to take place like in a city for whatever reason.
Which, I mean, a lot of campaigns do, and
Sure.
I get that these themes aren't supposed to be perfect in every single situation.
Of course
like,
not.
I know we're kind of dogging on it in the fact that, like, if you're playing a campaign that is supposed to be stealthful, like, it's going to be a hindrance on yourself. I just think that this isn't the best 18th level that they could have put in here.
Well, they need it. I think that the general idea is that it's a resolve point recovering thing.
Yeah. Which is what most of the like high level
Sure.
theme options are, is, hey, you gain a resolve point by doing this thing. I think that they could have easily made this you practice your specific profession, period.
Yeah, I think that makes it too general though, because you could basically do that anytime that isn't combat.
Okay.
You know?
I just feel that it is very limited, and I think the public aspect of it kind of hurts a lot of the aspect. Like you said, if you're in a ship or traveling from point A to point B, theoretically you could be doing a long rest in those times, right?
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of a situation where you need to recover a resolve point, right? And not do it via like long rest or other mechanics within the game. Like, how is this the mechanic
Sure.
that makes sense for you to use? Like,
Sure.
are you in the middle of a spy mission? Like, and then I think it just becomes like super narratively like
Restrictive
tight.
almost.
Because
I could
it's
buy
like-
that. I could buy that. I think it's probably one of the more difficult ones to get like immediate use out of. Like, I'm gonna recover this point and then use it, because the pilot can super do that,
Yeah.
right? And we'll talk about the mercenary, but if the mercenary manages to achieve a resolve point, they can almost immediately use it.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, before we move on to the mercenary, I think we should talk about what we think the icon works really well for.
Sure.
I mean, clearly the envoy.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what that class is.
Yeah.
They're companions, but I think that this is kind of open enough that it does work for an operative.
Sure.
If that's the direction you want to be, like,
Yeah,
you're not.
You can have like a strong charisma operative. That's like it doesn't have to be stealth based. Like, you're not being optimal, but since when is that always the thing that people do, right? I think anything charisma based is great, right? Anything charisma secondary is still great. I just don't like charisma as an off stat. It doesn't really like fit anything for me.
So you're saying that you wouldn't want like the soldier having the icon?
No.
Because I can see this working for a soldier as
I could
well.
too. I could absolutely. I personally would not like to see it, but I'm not saying it's like
Yeah.
brokenly like just useless and it only works on 2 classes. I'm just saying, me personally, I would want to use it as for the charisma mostly, because I feel like that plays into. This is why I'm an icon.
Sure.
Where if you're putting it on a soldier with 8 charisma or whatever, or 10 charisma even, you're just like, you're still not that charismatic.
Sure, I get that. I just think that there's so much to it that basing the decision of choosing the icon as your theme based off of just the bonus
And you don't,
is kind of hindering the theme aspect.
And you
of
don't
it.
have to do that. Absolutely don't have to do that.
And that's why I think that like an icon soldier makes sense. You're a famous soldier. You can
did something cool in battle, and then other people hyped it up. Like the military as an organization was like, oh, our soldiers are so great, this person got an award for this.
Yeah.
And then everybody latched onto that
Well,
story.
and then not only that, like if you're a soldier and you decide to not be a military soldier, like you are you're a bounty hunter,
Sure.
and you've chosen icon as your theme, you can get key information about other bounty hunters.
True.
And so it's like,
okay, I see that.
You know what I mean?
I didn't
Like-
think about that. Choosing your profession to optimize the theme and not based on the class that you are. Ignoring all that completely and just being like, I am a professional final boss.
but yeah, I mean, like the fact is that you are getting, it's based off of the skill profession that you get to choose. And I think that that's really important. And
I didn't see that before. I super agree with that. I take back everything I said. Edit it all out.
AKA, it's good for almost every single class. There are
Agreed.
some hindrances for operative, but
Yep.
I think that depending on your playstyle, it can work great.
Yep. I still think it's better for charisma-based classes,
Yes.
but I think that's obvious.
Next, we're gonna go into the Mercenary, which if you can't tell what the Mercenary is, it's a paid gun for hire. Different than the bounty hunter,
right?
Who gets paid
per kill.
But
the mercenary, it's like the difference between an hourly and a salaried employee, but not at all.
I'm intrigued of why they decided to like separate them in this way, but I get it. Like this is a very distinct and different than the bounty hunter as a whole.
Right.
But it's a strength-based like theme, so you're gonna get a +1 to your strength.
Yep. Level 1 theme knowledge is going to allow you to reduce the DC of culture checks regarding the military and the military hierarchy, and very similar to the bounty hunter, except for instead of law enforcement, it's the military now, by 5. And it's also going to give you athletics as a class skill. If you already have athletics as a class skill, you get a +1 to athletics. There's a pattern. You all see it now. Let's move on.
I don't think that this is horrible.
No, this is good.
I like the fact that it's athletics. I do think that this does narrow it down significantly to what classes it's good for.
Sure.
At 6th level, you're gonna get Grunt, which basically treats your strength as if it were 1 higher for the purposes of carrying bulk.
Yeah.
I like this a lot. It's very different than all of the other ones.
Yep.
And not only that, I like it that it is so different from everything else.
Sure.
What I don't like it is that it's very specific.
Yep.
Your character carries heavy stuff or can wear very heavy armor.
Which, that is useful, right?
Yes, for some classes.
You can wear heavy, but again, it's a strength-based guy, so you're gonna get strength-based doodles.
No, I get that, but again, like I said, it narrows it down. You're not going to be seeing a technomancer or an operative, really.
Or will you?
What's the other spellcasting one? Solarian? You can see it, you can have a Solarian, but they have like, anyways, doesn't matter, we'll keep going.
At level 12, you're gonna get Squad Leader, which is strong as f***. Hoorah! If your character is able to attempt a check that you are trying to help with, you can automatically succeed the check to help a longtime ally or a squad member with that check. Now, I want to note something. Longtime ally is specifically applying to NPCs in my head.
Sure.
I think a squad member is anyone in your party.
Sure.
Clearly. And so you don't, like, if your party just met at level 12. Okay, let's just say your campaign starts at level 12.
Like if a new player joins your group.
Yeah, that's where it would just like override the duration requirement, because it's to have that requirement for player-to-player interactions, but it makes sense because you can't just like, oh, I'm gonna help this like civilian. Like they don't have the background in the like just adventuring or like doing difficult things in general that a normal like player character would. And so it's just not that big of a stretch to think that they wouldn't be able to like pull their end of the weight there, you know?
Sure. And I know I'm not so good at English, but this was worded really weird.
Yeah.
It could have easily, you want to read it?
Verbatim, if you are able to attempt the check in question, you automatically succeed at a skill check to aid another when assisting a squad member or other longtime ally. The thing that
it could have literally been turned around.
Sure. Yeah.
When aiding a longtime squad member, you automatically succeed if you are able to make the check necessary.
Yes. See, the thing that I think is ambiguous slightly is if you are able to attempt the check in question, is that if you are able to roll to aid them, or if you are able to roll in their place to do the check that they are trying to do?
The way
that
that I read it is that there are multiple ways to give aid to another player.
Yeah.
So if there is a skill check in which would give you the option to aid your partner,
okay,
you can make that
Whereas,
attempt.
like, you can't use this to make a computer's, to aid in a computer's check to like gain root access if you're not proficient with computers, or if computers isn't a class skill, because you don't understand it enough. The same, because
yeah, I don't know. That's weird.
That's what I think it is.
Sure.
Right? That makes sense to me. If you don't have the capacity to understand what the person is doing, you can't help them.
Yeah, because you know what? When I was reading this, I was thinking specifically in combat, and I wasn't thinking outside of combat.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking the aid action versus being able to assist on a skill check. Yeah, okay. It's weird. It's weirded word. It's worded weird. It could be worded better.
Agreed.
And
just like that sentence.
Yes, exactly. like all of my English. At level 18, you're gonna get Commander, one of the probably most difficult ways to get a resolve point.
Yeah, you basically have to commit genocide to get a resolve point.
So you have to,
I'm gonna get demonetized for saying
After participating in at least 3 combats where you defeat a significant foe, you gain a resolve point. If, and by gain I mean recover a resolve point.
Yes.
And if you manage to do it 6 times, you can regain a second resolve point.
And it all has to be in the same day.
Yeah, same day, and it has to be significant foes.
Yeah.
So it can't just be...
You can't go to a bar and just beat up 3 civilians and be like, all right, I recovered my resolve point, let's go, boys.
Yeah, like, this is tough. This is full-on combat constantly, which means it's probably not going to be a spellcaster.
Right.
So this is very much like, hey, you're a soldier. Like, this is very much...
You have to have the constitution to move, to keep yourself going through that.
Well, not only that, make it so that your main abilities that you're using aren't limited based off of the amount of...
I get
So
that.
it's got to be like, okay, great, my main thing is guns, or my main thing is sneak attack. Like, those...
Your party's gonna limit this more than your character will, almost certainly.
Exactly. So that's kind of like the really, really, really rough part when it comes to this.
Which actually sort of makes sense though, because it's like the soldier's like the hard head, I'm gonna push in, I'm gonna push forward, I'm gonna win. And the party's like, hold on, can we think about this? And you're like, no, the day's almost over, I need my f***ing resolve point. It feels,
But here's the thing,
it feels like it's pushing you to be a hard head.
What's the point of getting that second resolve point if it's just at the end of the day?
If it's after the 6th combat.
Like
if you're not done with combat after 6 combats and it's been 1 in-game day.
And again, significant
foes. Your GM's mean. Like literally.
This is rough. I think that this is so narrow that it has to be a soldier.
It's literally a counter to mean GMs.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be a soldier. I don't think there's really another option for it. If you can find another really good build for it to be anything other than a soldier, let us know down in the comments. While you're down there in the comments, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can get notifications for all our future content, and then head over to Twitter and talk to me there. You can talk to me on Twitter at IndigoQT.
And you can talk to me on Twitter at QueueTimes. You can also talk to both of us at _QueueTimes on Twitter, or you can talk to us on all these social media things down here.
Oh, QueueTimes, forget it every day. Bye, everyone.
See you.